So we started our Ford Ecosport adventure pretty early this morning with the first sunrise of the day in Canada. It was our first drive with the 2-liter version of the Ecosport.
My initial impression of driving the Ecosport is that it feels a lot more like you're driving a car and less like you're driving an SUV. And I think that has a lot to do with, its relatively smaller proportions compared to like the Escape or the Explorer. So like the steering response, the throttle response, the brake response, everything is, you might say jerky, you might say nimble, however you want to describe it, but the movements are a lot sharper.
That granularity that you get from higher end electronic steering, it just doesn't have that gradualness that some vehicles do have. So in situations where you're expecting to turn the corner, you might get that feedback quite quickly. You might also discover that the braking system on the vehicle might be abrupt to you if you're more used to something that has more modulation. This vehicle comes in 2 different power plants. It's got a 1-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged version, which puts out about 120 something horsepower, and then they've got a 2.0-liter engine, which is only available in the all-wheel drive.
Correct.
And it has a good 166 horsepower.
The 1-liter EcoBoost engine is only available with front-wheel drive,
Yep.
whereas the 2-liter engine is only available in all-wheel drive. So you kind of make that choice. And for me, it's kind of a no-brainer to get the bigger engine. I think they said it was only a $2,500 upgrade. There was another package that they mentioned. I think they called it like the winter preparedness package or something like that. And it was only like $350 to add on. And you get the heated mirrors, you get a heated steering wheel, and you get the de-icing windshield wipers.
Yeah, you also get all-weather mats as well, too.
All-weather mats.
And standard on the top trim, the 2 trim levels below that, you actually have the option to do that, with the exception of the lower trim level. But it's a fantastic value for $350.
This car is loaded with so much technology. So like the version that we're driving right now, it has an 8-inch touchscreen display that, for the GPS, for example, you can use pinch to zoom like how you would on your smartphone or your tablet. And that's not something that we used to have on older GPS systems. You get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. They recently just announced that there's Waze integration.
The interior and everything just has really nice young and fun touches like the ambient lighting, and in some trim levels you even get a B&O play system which has 675 watts of power, and it sounds really good. Instead of doing the up and down trunk lid, they did something that swung open from the side, and this is unlike most vehicles in the market. There's an option for a wheel spare tire holder as well too on one of the trim levels.
We used to have, my then girlfriend, now wife, used to have a RAV4, and it had like the door, but it was like a door. And when we were out at Cape Spear, it's very windy. So sometimes, if the door catches the wind, it flies open. That's not an issue with the rear door on the Ecosport because of the hydraulics. It's a very deliberate and controlled opening.
Much quicker than waiting for your tailgate to lift up in most electronic hydraulic systems. I know the one in my Sorento, probably I have to count to 5 until the thing's completely deployed.
It's clever how they hid the handle.
Oh yeah.
Because then they hid the handle kind of in this space underneath the right tail light.
On the back of the seats, there's actually these pockets that you can put your phone in, or even a tablet in at the top. High-speed charging USB ports on the front, and in some of the trim models, there's even an outlet on the back, and there's also cigarette lighter adapters on one of the seats in the back as well too, in some of the trim levels. I find that these features are almost indispensable these days, whereas before it was kind of a nice to have, but you got to have them these days with all the gadgets that we carry. And the glove box inside the Ecosport is actually small, and if you call it a glove box, that would be a very accurate description, because if you put a set of winter gloves, that basically takes up the entire glove box. That's really about it.
Ford kind of makes up with that by having the extra storage spaces kind of in other places in the car. Like you still have the storage in the armrest here, so maybe you want to put some more stuff down here instead. In the trunk, the cover, you can configure in different ways. There's like a lower level, a higher level, and you can place it vertically. So if you have it on the lower level, if you want to hide something that's a little bit not as tall, like your laptop or your camera, valuables, you can still stow underneath. while still having like a ledge to put your groceries and whatnot. So it adds that versatility to the storage that has become so indispensable for us as drivers today.
The entire line has a moonroof, which is fantastic. Like, don't get me wrong, it's kind of nice to have. You've got a nice airy cabin when you open up the flap up here, and you get a lot of daylight over here. But when you open that roof, it's actually very, very noisy. And I think the reason for that is because there's really nothing up top to really deflect the air over that opening. So it gets quite loud at highway cruising speeds.
For me, it's not a deal breaker because I'm the kind of person that I'll open up the moonroof if I'm driving around the city and I know I'm kind of stop and go. But if I'm on the highway, I'm probably going to leave it closed anyway. The choice of materials for the steering wheel and for the seats, you can tell that they've kind of gone with more of a premium feel, especially with this one with the leather wrap steering wheel. It feels really nice.
I've driven the Escape, which is the big brother to this vehicle right here, the Ecosport, and I actually like the wheel in the Ecosport better than I do in the Escape, which is a much larger, higher powered, potentially you could say more premium vehicle.
I don't know what it is, but there's something about the driver's seat that it feels narrower than I'm used to, and it doesn't quite have as much like hugging.
The seat feels very flat, and as a result, when you're going for more spirited drives, especially here in Newfoundland, I found myself slipping a lot, and also I didn't find enough extra padding in the right places on the backrest to really make it a very comfortable vehicle for longer drives. And we've been driving for almost the entire day so far. Granted, we know that this particular vehicle may or may not make it in the hands of someone that's doing long distance driving, but it's something that you need to be aware of, especially if you have back problems or feel that you need something with a little bit larger footprint, perhaps. So we've had a really good day out with the Ford Ecosport. We've seen so many great things about Newfoundland. It was actually surprisingly good on the highway, and overall with the suspension mix, the wheelbase and everything, it really ended up being just a lot of fun.
There are some people that are driving a smaller car right now and they're hesitant to get an SUV because they're gas guzzlers when they use so much gas. Today we drove 200, 300, 400 kilometers or whatever it was. We end up averaging between 7 and 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is very economical and very comparable to like a small hatchback. People that are coming from a larger SUV, like, oh, maybe I don't want a vehicle that's quite this small. I think it's worth giving a drive because you still get a lot of the creature comforts and features that you come to expect from the larger SUVs, but just in a more compact package.
That's our somewhat conclusive, non-conclusive, objective, subjective review of this vehicle. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, we'll see you again in the next video. Keep those comments coming. Take care.